Welcome back to High School Economics. This is Dr. Kling, and today we're going to discuss fiscal policy. And we're doing this again within the context of a simple Keynesian model, like we were doing last time. So a simple Keynesian model. And fiscal policy consists of government spending, and taxes. Now, you've probably been hearing a lot in the last few years about stimulus and stimulus packages and stuff like that. Well, that's what this refers to: government spending and tax cuts. But we're going to talk about government spending and taxes. Government spending we'll call G, taxes we'll call T, and in the simple Keynesian model, we introduce them in the GDP equation. Government purchases are now part of GDP, and in the consumption function, we now have to account for, so we still have our baseline consumption, our intercept term in the consumption function, but we have to introduce disposable income, that is income after taxes. So we subtract taxes from GDP to get disposable income. Okay, as before, we want to solve, our strategy for solving this will be to plug the equation for consumption into this equation. So we just have one equation, and that'll be y equals c naught plus c times y minus t plus I plus G. So what we did is we put this stuff in here, and now we have just one equation. Now, as before, we're going to take our y term, move it over here, and we have what's left. And now we'll take this and move it over here as a multiplier. So y equals 1 over 1 minus c, that'll turn out to be our multiplier, times c naught minus ct plus I plus g. And one thing I want you to notice right away is that if we increase government spending here, we're going to get a positive effect because we have a plus sign on GDP, whereas if we raise taxes, we're going to get a negative effect because we have a minus sign. And now I'm going to make up some numbers that we can use to illustrate that. Again, this is going to be totally made up. Okay, so there's our equation. And now suppose that we had, let me show more of this stuff. Okay, suppose that we had, in this, we'll let's say I equals 10. So we have investment of 10. We'll start out with government spending at 6, and we'll have our constant term for consumption, let's say that's 8, and then we'll have our marginal propensity to consume of 0.5, and we'll have taxes at 6. And let's see what we get when we solve for GDP, when we put those numbers in. Okay, so alright, here's our equation. So we're going to get y is equal to 1 over 1 minus 0.5 times 8 minus 0.5 times 6. I'm just plugging in from the numbers over here, all these numbers, plus 10 for I plus 6 for G. So that's equal to 1 over 1 minus 0.5 is 1 over 0.5, or 2, times 8 minus 3 plus 10 plus 6, 24. So 18, 24, 21 times 2, I get 42. So that would be our level of GDP, 42. We can call it 42 trillion or whatever we want to call that. Now, suppose we raise government spending. Before we had government spending of 6. Suppose we raise it to 8. Okay, so now we're going to set G equal to 8 and just do the same thing. So we have 2 times, we had our old consumption constant of 8, minus, we'll still have the 3, and I'll write it as 0.5 times 6, plus 10, plus now 8. So we have 18, 26 minus 3 is 23 times 2 equals 46. So we added, G is 8, it was 6, so we added 2 to G, and we raised GDP by 4. So notice there was a multiplier then of 2, which is not surprising because we have a 2 here. So we say that in our example, the multiplier is 2, which means we got twice the increase in output of the increase in GDP, in government spending. Now the other thing we could do to try to raise output, let's go back to the original story where y equals 42. So back to G equals 6, y equals 42. But now let's cut taxes by 2. Remember, when we cut taxes, we're going to increase GDP. So let's see if we get the same sort of increase in GDP. Okay, let's reproduce this equation that's up here. I'm going to rewrite that down here so we have it. So we have y equals 1 over 1 minus 0.5 times 0.8 minus 0.5, and now the taxes we're cutting by 2, so they were 6. So it was 6, now it's 4. So 0.5 times now 4, plus the 10 for investment, plus the 6 for government spending. We're going back to the government spending of 6. And now what do we get? 10, 16, and 8 are 24, minus 5, minus 2 is 22, multiplied by 2 is equal to 44. So with the tax cut of 2, we don't get as much of an increase. It turns out that the tax cut multiplier in this example, the tax cut multiplier is equal to 1. Now that won't always be true, and the government spending multiplier won't always be 2. It depends on this guy, the marginal propensity to consume. If people were to consume a higher level of their income at the margin, that is, so the marginal propensity to consume were higher, both of these multipliers would be higher. If this were lower, the multipliers would be lower. And I'll leave that as an exercise for you to show. So find the multiplier for G and for T if the marginal propensity to consume equals 0.8. I'll leave that as an exercise for you to think about and to work out. See you next time.